In this video, I'll quickly show you how I clean firearms, and I'm going to do it on a pistol. These techniques apply to rifles and shotguns as well, because you just have to clean out the barrel and all the little parts. It's a CZ75 Shadow, and if you want to look at how to take it apart and put it all back together, check out the cards. There's a video on disassembly and reassembly in there. In this video, I'm just going to cover how I clean the barrel and then clean all the little parts and then put it back together. So I use Hoppy's number 9 as a solvent. That's the best solvent that you can get, and it dissolves lead, copper, all the stuff inside the barrel. So you use this to mainly clean inside the barrel, and it basically dissolves everything. So make sure you have gloves on, and it's poisonous, so make sure you don't breathe the fumes. You've got to do it inside a well ventilated room, and what that means is you could use a respirator and make sure you're in a room with an exhaust fan. The fumes will build up indoors, so if you have to do it inside your room, make sure the window's open for a good 6 hours to air it out afterwards. But if you can, do this outside if it's not too cold. So treat this as a very dangerous solvent, as it is. Rem oil is basically the same thing as Hoppy's number 9, except it has oil built into it. If you use Hoppy's number 9, you have to buy a separate oil to apply to the parts, the moving parts, and the metal to protect it. The Rem oil is 2-in-1, so you can just spray it, use it as a cleaner, and then when the solvent evaporates, the oil is left behind as a protective barrier and a lubricant. So some people just use this purely, but it doesn't clean the barrel as quickly as Hoppy's number 9, so I use this for the barrel and the ram. This one's also a solvent, so its fumes are dangerous, skull and crossbones, so it's poisonous. Make sure you don't breathe this. You'll have to use a respirator for this one as well, and do it in a well ventilated room. You can buy the Hoppy's in a small bottle like this, and it's much easier to use because you can dip into it. This one you can't dip into, so this is just good for a refill. And the tools that I use include the brass bore brush. You can use nylon, but the brass helps remove the metal a lot easier and quicker. You can use a patch adapter, but I don't like using these. I just put the patch right onto the actual brush and slide that through. Typically, you would take this and run it through like that, but it's not as effective and not as quick. If you go like this, it's kind of like a cobra brush, and it brushes it and runs through the solvent and cleans the sides and walls quickly. So I'll show you how that works later. You should buy a punch set. This one comes with 1.5mm up to, I think this is 2 or 3, and the main one that you need is the 1.5mm. The rest you can kind of get away without. You need a brass brush, some nylon brushes, toothbrush helps, and a good Phillips and flathead screwdriver. So now let's check we're clear, and we're going to line up all the parts along here so we can put it back together in the same order we took it apart. So chamber's clear, nothing's in there. Now you can remove your slide lock. The CZ has an indent here, so you line that up and you punch out your slide lock. Take out your lock, put it aside, the slide comes right off. So as you can see, there's a bunch of fouling in there, and to clean all that, I'm just going to use like a toothbrush or something. I bent the end of this one so I can get into the funny places, and this is where the Rem oil comes into play. You don't want to use the Hoppy's number 9 because it's a little too harsh for this and it's not required. So just shake this a bit so you mix up all the oil and solvent, just in case it's not homogeneous, and then just spray everything. Let it soak for a couple minutes, and then you can brush it and wipe it off with a good rag. So this is where you'll want to be wearing your respirator, otherwise all those fumes are going to be absorbed into your body. So I'm doing this on an old target, and then you can just throw it away after you're done. And there's a garbage bag underneath just so that the oil doesn't seep through. So you can spray the rest of your parts and let it soak, and then you can brush it, wipe it off with a cloth, and you're basically done. All the fouling is cleaned off, dissolved, and everything's ready to go again. You can flip your parts and spray them on the other side if you want to be really detailed. Unless the fouling is really bad, that's not necessary. So again, make sure your sear is completely soaked. So to take your magazine apart, there's a pin on the bottom. You push that in, and then you can slide this out. Make sure the spring doesn't come shooting out, so put your thumb over it. So actually this is getting pretty dirty, so it's a good thing to clean out your magazines as well, otherwise you might have some issues of it jamming. And a little oil in there never hurts. Now if you want to do even more detailed cleaning, you can take apart your sear, but putting it together is really hard, and I show it in detail in the other video. So you can use a brush to brush all your parts, wipe them off, and then put it all back together. I like to spray a little oil and solvent on there first, just for some extra cleaning power. And then once everything's clean, I'll wipe it all off, and we can put it back together. And anything that's blued or painted with a finish, use a nylon brush. Do not ever use the brass brush, it'll destroy your finish. The brass brush is only for the ramp and any bare metal parts. So make sure you don't brush any finishes or anything that's blued with a brass or metal brush of any sort. And also don't use a steel brush on anything on the gun. Only use a brass brush, otherwise a steel brush will scratch your barrel like crazy. Now everything's clean, I'm going to wipe off all the excess oil, leave a nice film of oil on it. Scrub off everything with Hoppe's number 9. Pour some Hoppe's number 9 in there if you want to. But it can also be a solvent to clean off any paint or rubber on your bumpers and corners of your bumpers where people have scratched up against you. And then scrub it with the brass brush, and then take a nylon brush and run it through with patches. Always push through from the breech end, coming out the crown, and then pull straight back without damaging the crown. If you push straight through here, you could accidentally cram into a crown and damage it, and there goes your accuracy. The gun is pretty much done after that, and you have to get it recrowned. So take your nylon brush, get your patches, and you can dip that in Hoppe's number 9. If you put your Hoppe's number 9 in a contact lens solution case, then you can just apply your Hoppe's to the tip there. And then take that and run it through. And then you can take it off, come back through the other end, and use a new patch every time. You can reuse the other side of this patch, but you still may be running contaminants through, and that's not worth the risk, so just use a new patch. Also, don't change directions inside the barrel. Just go straight through, and then come back out. So that's probably pretty clean. There's basically nothing in there. You can use Hoppe's number 9, a brass brush, and clean your ramp and your breech. The breech probably has the worst fouling, so make sure you clean your ramp and anything else that's fouled on there. If you leave it on there, it's going to corrode everything. Your ramp's going to get all pitted, and you're going to get jams when it feeds. So make sure you get that nice and clean. You can polish it with a polisher if you want. Make sure you go in a direction that's up and down the ramp. If you go sideways like this, you're going to cause some scratches, and that's going to create friction. The head of your bullet's going to get jammed up in there, bind, and it won't feed. So make sure you only brush up and down that ramp. You can scrub the rest of the barrel with it. Just remember to be careful with the crown. The rifling ends right there, and those are your crowns. Make sure you don't scratch those. And the cleaning we did inside the barrel is probably sufficient to clean that. So just clean the outside edge of your barrel. Now all you got to do is clean off the Hoppe's number 9. So now all the Hoppe's number 9 is pretty much cleaned up. You can use the rem oil to spray the outside. You can leave a nice layer of rem oil on the inside. That'll help protect it, and on the outside as well. You can clean your slide lock slot here. That part gets fouling and may corrode as well. So now the barrel and all those riflings are perfectly clean. So now we've got a nice layer of oil on there and protect it from corrosion. So the next time before a competition, make sure you clean out that oil in the barrel. Otherwise you're going to leave contaminants in there. It could affect your accuracy, and you might as well leave nothing to chance. What I use to clean the inside of my bore is a brass brush. This one's for 45 caliber. And what I do is I take a patch and I put that on there. So now you've got the patch with the solvent and the brushes So take that and run that through. So it comes out the other side pretty dirty. Always run patches through from the receiver end, never from the muzzle end. That ensures you don't damage the crown. Everything's clean. We're going to put it back together now. I also like to spray a little oil into the sear, but not too much because you don't want it going all over the place. So there you go, that's how I clean my pistols, and that's the CZ75 Shadow. So thanks for watching, and I hope that helps. Loads it up like a champ.